Hi, what if I told you it's very easy to go from where you are now to running your own business? It's just a case of deciding which route to take. If you're interested, so a bit of background. In the past 40 years I've started numerous businesses, and I too have been in the position where I hated my working life and just wanted to get out of it. I was desperate to do something else, and I did make the leap, but I do remember the optimism I felt was tempered by that late night feeling of dread when I thought about all the things that could go wrong and whether I should do it and how I should do it. So what I'm looking to do now is to tell you about ways in which you can really simplify the process and, more importantly, make the decision about how you're going to do it, or even if you're going to do it. So there are 3 routes that I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to summarize each of the 3 routes, and I'm going to give you examples of them, and then I'm going to talk about the pluses and minuses of each route. So route 1 is what I'm calling the same job in a different suit. So that is where you have a skill which you want to keep using, but you're going to do it within a different structure. So effectively you're going out on your own doing the same thing. So same skills being used, but you're doing it in a different structure. Keywords here are things like freelance, consultant, contractor, temporary, that type of thing. And the great thing about this way in is that it's a lower risk than if you start something entirely new for yourself. You're using a skill which you already have. You can start off as an expert. You don't have to learn how to do the skill. You've already got that. And that leaves you free to focus on perhaps somewhere that you don't have the same level of ability, which is getting in new customers. You're going to have to do all of that yourself if you're in a one-person business. And so that's a real difference in this way. But the great thing about it is that you can possibly already have contacts that you can use in order to get you your first clients, and that can be a real way forward. On the other hand, the negatives are, if you go into something that's very similar to what you're already doing, you kind of moved for no great benefit. Nothing much has changed. You're doing the same job. You may even be doing it with the same people. That can feel like you've just made a change for change's sake, except that you have much less support in a structure. Perhaps if you're in a one-person business, it's not the same as when you're with a bigger organization. And also there's a great deal less security when you work for a firm. Normally they are contractually obliged to give you a notice if they're going to stop using you, whereas this way you can actually get removed at maybe 24 hours notice or immediately. And the other thing is that although you can be a real specialist, the size of the market can be so small that you can't actually get into it as a one-person business, and so that's a negative. So the second option is what I'm calling Brave New World. What it is the nuclear option. You're going into a structure where you are new to that structure, maybe a one-person business, and you're doing something new to you as well. So you're not actually leveraging any previous skills that you may have got in your last job. And what I mean by that is that it's not that you are going entirely unskilled into something that you can't use any of your previous skills. If you've been an accountant and you're going to set up as a blacksmith, accountancy is going to be useful when in your one-person business, but you're not earning the money from that. And so the sort of keywords here are retraining, learning a new skill set. It's a completely fresh start, and this is where if you want an easier way in, you could, for example, buy a franchise. Although with franchises, let's be clear, you're not necessarily going to be given all of the skills that you need in order to start a business. You have to go into a franchise with your eyes well and truly open. Okay, so what are the advantages of going into a one-person business in this way? Basically, the world is your oyster. Anything is possible. You're in charge of your own destiny. It can be a really exciting fresh start. If you're really stale in your current career, everything is new and you get a lot of motivation from that. It means that you have to get new customers, but that focus on new customers in a new market can be a real positive. And there is no limit to what you can do in this format. It can be a real roller coaster, but highly enjoyable. However, the negatives, it's risky. It's the most risky way in. It is without doubt the way that you have to put your heart and soul into something that may not come out. You haven't got any areas of familiarity to fall back on. Our accountant example in here, yes, you can play with the books of your business, but you need to basically get out there and start winning new business, and that can be hard, and you don't have any comfort zone. This is real entrepreneurship at the sharp end. That means that everything is at risk, and that can be, for example, that you may go into something having prepared for it really well, but because you don't know the market, you don't know the people, you don't actually do a particularly good job of estimating. And it's not a criticism necessarily, it's just not possible because you're not the expert, and that can create some real issues, not the least in cash flow. So the third route is the softly way in. You basically keep your day job and you start up something else alongside your day job, and you work on both until the income from your second is high enough to allow you to drop the first. The sort of things that get mentioned which are like this are portfolio careers. The classic is the side hustle, and it can be a part-time approach. And the advantage of this is, of course, it's the really low risk route in. You can test things out before you actually commit to them. Timescales are flexible. If other things crop up in your life, you don't have everything riding on the one career, and it allows you to learn the business before you fully commit to it. But let's look at the downside of doing it this way. And this is what actually trips up a lot of people. Once you're doing something part-time, you're splitting your time, and it's very easy to lose momentum in that circumstance. Secondly, there is no real commitment. You don't have so much riding on it, and so your motivation can drop. If you don't feel like doing something one day, you just don't do it, and that can mean that you lose your motivation entirely. It's a continual juggling act when you're doing two jobs, and you have to play one off against the other sometimes, and basically you are compromising all the time, and it can mean that actually you end up performing poorly in all areas. So those are the three ways that give you an avenue to transition from where you are now into running your own business. But there's another big area that obviously needs to be talked about, and that's the risk you're taking by undertaking this type of transition. However, that's a topic for another video, so please subscribe, look out for it, it's coming soon, and it'll be all about the big risks, how you can avoid them, and how you need to think about it. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll speak to you again soon. Cheers.